Hey everybody, it's Kate, the West Coast Paper Crafter. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Canada on Vancouver Island, and you are joining me for tonight's project, which features the Seaside Wishes bundle, which is one of my favorite stamp sets that's currently on its way out. So if you love this bundle that we're using tonight, you can still get it, but I don't know how long you can get it for. So it is in the last chance list, and the stamp set for sure is discounted, but I don't think the hybrid embossing folder is. Anyways, this is a really pretty stamp set, and it's one of the stamp sets that I'm a little sad is going to retire. However, it's going to stick around in my stash. Hey Karen, hello Carissa. All right, so we're gonna make this project tonight. Now, I was inspired by the Global Design Project. I don't know if you guys follow it. You can just search for it on Facebook. I'm very sure it's just called Global Design Project, and they're Stampin' Up! Demonstrators, and they give you a little sketch challenge every week. So this is how I came up with this idea, because I was stalking what people were making, and this is a combination of a couple cards that I had seen be created. So let's get started. We'll go through the measurements. First off, I've got a basic beige card base. Now this is simply cutting a piece of cardstock in half and scoring it down the middle. So I have gone ahead and cut this cardstock to 5.5, and then this side is the 8.5 side, and I've scored it in the middle at 4.25. And then I'm just gonna fold it right in half for the card base. Hey Jackie, thanks for tuning in. Next, I've got a piece of early Expresso. Now this is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I'm saying that with a question mark in my brain because now I'm not sure. Hang on, let me measure it. I know I wrote the measurements down last night, but it doesn't mean I remember it today. Yes. 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Hey Susan. And then I've got a piece of Lagoon. This is 4 by 5 1/4. And then from the, I don't have all the dies handy. What did I do with those? Hang on. So the Seaside Wishes bundle comes with dies and a hybrid embossing folder. So from the dies, hey Brenda, I cut out these pieces out of crumb cake, and I'm not sure what else to call this but coral. I could be wrong, it might not be coral, but I'm going to call it coral. So I've just cut 2 of these out with crumb cake, and I did the sand dollars with this die here. This is what makes this so unique, and this is, I know this is going to be old news for some of you, but maybe some of you haven't seen this before. So this is a hybrid embossing folder, and it's got the sand dollars and a little bit of texture. So you can just throw a piece of cardstock in here and emboss your sand dollars with texture, and that's great. It looks really nice. Or you can take this die and it fits. It kind of, oops, I must have that the wrong way. It just kind of slides into place right in this hybrid folder. Then you put your paper in and it embosses and it die cuts at the same time, and then you get these lovely little sand dollars that actually look pretty realistic, at least for the sand dollars that I see on Vancouver Island. Hey Sarah from Ohio. Oh, thanks Carissa. I like the colors too. You know, I'm kind of a fan of browns and blues. It's just my thing. So let me get some of this stuff out of the way and we'll get going. So I'm going to be using the starfish stamps from the Seaside Wishes stamp set, and also the sentiment that says sometimes the simplest things mean the most. That over here. And then I'm also going to be using the Soft Waves 3D embossing folder. Now normally I would go ahead and emboss before I got started, but my evening got away from me, so I'm going to emboss during the live. Hey Christine from Illinois. Robin, buddy, thanks for tuning in. Okay, let's get this out of the way and we'll get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is just emboss this Lost Lagoon cardstock with the Soft Waves 3D embossing folder. Now this embossing folder is current, it is not going anywhere, but the Seaside bundle is. I think I made that clear. I don't know how many times I can say it's going to retire, but it is just one of those sets that when they do get rid of it, if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm embossing. I forgot to tell you that. I don't want to put my big cut and emboss machine on my desk, because if I roll something through it, it's going to shake my desk and the camera, and it looks like there's an earthquake. Hey Wendy from Kamloops, thanks for tuning in. So I've just gone ahead and embossed this. Get this away. And there, now you can see it's got this lovely little wavy texture. So I don't need that anymore. And the first thing I'm going to do is, actually there's two things I'm going to do. So I've got 3 sponge daubers and 3 different colors of ink. Hey Cookie from Florida and Suzanne from NZ. Is that New Zealand? Correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm just going to use one of these sponge daubers in my Lost Lagoon ink. And this is totally optional, and I don't do this very often, but I want to get a little bit more fancy with my cards, so I'm going to try to incorporate a few more different techniques that are actually really simple to do, and because I'm such a lazy card maker, I never do it. Anyway, I'm laughing. I make my own jokes, but it's true. I'm kind of a lazy card maker, and I tend to make really simple designs, and I don't get too fancy. So anyway, I'm switching it up tonight and just being a little bit more fancier than I normally would. So all I'm doing is picking up some ink. Now at Lost Lagoon, it's the same ink as cardstock, and I'm just brushing on a darker color just along the edges of this card. Now, depending on how much color or texture you want to add, you might want to grab a blending brush and do the whole cardstock and add some more depth to it. It's just totally up to you. But for this card, I'm just going to do the edges. And I know it takes a little bit of time with these sponge daubers, but I love them. They're just so simple. And they fit right on your finger. I mean, how cute is that, right? All right, so I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but I've added a little bit of color, a little more depth and texture around the edges of that cardstock. And then, of course, I have to close this up, otherwise I'm going to get ink on my fingers. It's a given. And again, this is totally optional, and I don't know if you've ever seen me do this, because I don't do this very often, but I am going to rough up my paper with my paper snips. So I am just dragging, you can probably hear that, it must be really loud. I'm just dragging the blade of my paper snips along the edge of this cardstock, and I'm distressing the cardstock. And you can do it as much as you like, or as little as you like, or not at all. It totally depends on whether you like that distressed look to your cards, if you want them to look like they've been beat up a little bit, which is kind of what this ends up looking like. Like I said, I don't think I've ever done this on a live. It's not something I often do, but I'm just stepping out of my comfort zone tonight, friends. All right, so I have distressed 3 of 4 edges. I'm almost done. And I'm making a little pile of paper shards on my glass mat. So let me know in the comments, do you distress your cardstock? Do you like to do that? I see some cards that are so beautifully distressed, and the corners of the cardstock, they're kind of curled up and crumpled, and I have card making envy, so you might see that in future cards. I've never done it. All right, so I have made this look like it has been through some tough times. Ouch, I poked myself with these sharp little paper snips. All right, thanks Carissa. Thanks for forgiving me. It probably was really noisy. When I do playback, I'm gonna cringe at how much noise I just made. I know it. All right, oh, thanks Carolyn. I need to add a little more distress. I missed a spot. Do you distress, Carolyn? I just never do. It's just not my, just never done it. All right, so now I'm just gonna glue this to the Early Expresso base. All right, Christine, you do not distress because it looks shabby when you do it. Well, I hear you. Maybe that's why I don't do it either, but I'm gonna embrace shabby. I'm gonna go for like shabby chic. I don't know. Anyways, that's probably why I normally don't do it, because I think I'm terrible at it, but who knows? Practice makes perfect, right? So maybe Christine, if you do a little distressing and I do a little more distressing, then we'll be distressing experts in a couple of weeks or sooner. Who knows? All right, so I'm just gluing this down. And my soft waves make it a little bit harder for that glue to catch, so I'm just adding a little extra pressure. All right, so now our layer looks like so. And then the next thing I am going to do is add my pieces. So I've got basic beige, and I'm gonna do the same thing with the sand daubers as I did with the little sponge dauber. All right. Hello, Marion. Lorraine, you have distressed, but not for a while, so you're gonna try it again. And Robin, you rarely do, but you should do it more often. See, that's my thing too. Corrine, I am using this layer that I've embossed, that's Lost Lagoon, and then Early Expresso behind it. The card base is basic beige. And now I'm just gonna add a little bit more color to these embossed sand dollars with a sponge dauber and basic beige. So the sand dollars are cut out of basic beige, and I'm just gonna add a little bit more color to the edges of these sand dollars and give them a little bit more realistic look. So for those of you who are island girls or island friends, if you head out to Parksville, you might be lucky enough to find sand dollars. That's actually the only place I've found sand dollars on Vancouver Island was at the beaches in Parksville. So I'm sure they're at more beaches, but that's the only place I've found them. So if anybody is an island girl, or if you live on the coast and you have a beach that has sand dollars, then throw it in the comments, because they are cool little creatures. They're not this white color when they're alive. They're darker when they're living, but it's when they die and they get maybe sun bleached that they turn this kind of a off-white color. At least that's what I think. I'm not a marine expert. I'm not a marine expert, but I've seen live ones and they're not bleached. They don't have a bleachy color, they're dark. And I've definitely seen dead ones, because the live ones, if you turn them upside down, they've got these tiny little, well, I don't know if I can call them feet, but they've got a lot of little things at the bottom that move around like tiny, tiny little feet. There must be the right word for it. I just don't have it. Okay, so I've just added a little color, and again, this is optional. You can add color to the edges, or if you want, you can go right in the middle too. I'm gonna give them a little bit more color right in the middle and just kind of push that out. I don't want to get too carried away and ruin it with too much color. All right. Okay, Janice, it distresses you to distress paper. That's funny. You're so funny. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do for the sand dollars. I'm gonna move that out of the way for a second. And I'm going to add the sand dollars and the little coral pieces just to the front of this cardstock with some glue and dimensionals. I normally would just kind of place them and figure out where I want them to go, but I'm using my sample card as my guide, so I know where I'm putting them. So the big one's gonna go in the middle, and I'm gonna pop this up. So I've got my smaller sand dollar in the top right corner, the big one's gonna be in the middle, and my medium size one, I'm just gonna add to the bottom right, and I'm gonna glue it down. And then I'm gonna grab some dimensionals. Where the heck did I put them? Oh my gosh, I always have such a mess on my craft. My craft desk is so messy. All right. Now, dimensionals. Suzanne, you found one on Tapia Beach. I'm probably not saying that right. It was still dark but dead. Very fragile indeed, yes. So I suppose you had a fresh dead one then. That sounds terrible, actually. But if it hadn't had time to bleach in the sun. All right, here we go. This is gonna go right in the middle, and I've just popped it up a little bit, so now I can tuck in one of these little coral pieces, just like so. I'm gonna grab my fine tip glue bottle and add just a little bit of glue. I don't have to add too much. Somebody was telling me there is a clear Tombow at Michael's. I can't remember what it's called, but it's still Tombow and it's clear, and it's not as strong as the multi-purpose liquid glue that I use from Tombow, but apparently it dries less tacky and obviously clear. So I thought that might be a good one to try for all these fine little pieces. And while I love Tombow, and I know many of you have heard me say that I love Tombow, it's my glue of choice. Frankly, that's the one that Stampin' Up sells, and that's the one I like the most out of what they sell. So I haven't tried this other clear Tombow. So next time I'm at Michael's, I'm going to use one of those handy little coupons they give you for 40% off or 30% off. And I'm going to cheat on my love affair with Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue, and I'm going to try that clear glue. And I'm going to see for myself if it works really nice for these tiny little pieces. Anyways, if you've tried it and it is junk, let me know. For those of you who tuned in either last week or last Monday when we did the Easter baskets, I was telling you guys about how I gave glue dots such a hard time, and I was going to get over that and start using glue dots. Well, I glued down my little bow on my Easter basket with a glue dot, and I felt pretty good about it. And then yesterday I came into my craft room and the bow fell off. So now I'm back disliking glue dots. So what I've done is, this is dry now, but I just took a dot of multi-purpose liquid glue and I stuck the bow on this basket. Now normally I would weight it down with a block, but because it's a 3D project, I couldn't do that. So I just had this tiny little clothespin that I got from the dollar store, and I stuck it on there, and now this is not going anywhere. So I'm back off the glue dots again, friends. I'm breaking up with them. I just started dating them, and now we're breaking up. All right. Oh, thanks, Carolyn. It's not great. I won't love it. Well, if you say it's not great, then that's all I need to know. I don't even need to try it. I just trust you. All right, Robin, you use it all the time, and you love that it's clear when it's dry, and then you use the white when you need a stronger hold. That's what I heard somebody talking about, that they use the clear Tombow for pieces that don't need as much glue power. Is that a word? Glue power? So I just grabbed my Calypso coral, and I'm going to stamp these starfish. Now these are two separate stamps, but just for time, I have gone ahead and mounted them on the same block. I've stamped them in Calypso coral, and this set does have dies to cut out the starfish. So of course, at least I got that done. I did pre-stamp and cut just to save us some time. So here's my little starfish in Calypso coral. Now, let's see. Hello, Shannon. Hello, Patricia. You have never had a glue dot not hold. See, I don't know. Maybe I've got some dried up old glue dots. Maybe that's a problem. All right, so for this starfish, when you cut it with a die cut, you get a little bit of a white border. That doesn't usually bother me, but if it does bother you and you don't want a white border, then you can either go ahead and trim it a bit with your scissors, but that sounds like too much work. But since we're doing all the sponge daubing, then I'm just going to add some more Calypso coral to my little starfish die cut and get rid of those white lines. And then it also adds a little different shading to my starfish, so I think it makes it look more realistic. So on Vancouver Island, we definitely do get orange starfish. They're a little more chubbier than this particular starfish. I don't know exactly what they're called. They must have a name. We have all sorts of different kinds of starfish on Vancouver Island in different parts. And in East Souk, you see these kind of chubby little starfish that are kind of a Calypso color, orange, but they also are in pinks and purples, and they are my favorite. And there's another beach in East Souk that I've seen blood stars, and they are also starfish, but they have really skinny little arms. So I don't see those as often as I see these orange, pink, and purple ones. But most of the colors I see out here are the orange and purples. But if you go to Tofino, you might see some pink too. All right, Dolores, you have the same love-hate relationship with glue dots. You and me both, friend. You and me both. All right, now I'm gonna add these two little starfish. So the big one I'm just gonna glue down, and the little one, if I can find my mini dimensionals, I'm gonna pop it up. And if I can't, then I might glue it down. We'll see. We shall see. So I have all my things, but I covered them with all my other things, right? Like I've got mini dimensionals somewhere on my craft table, and then I cover them with all the other things. That's gonna bug me. Oh, what's this? I found them. Crisis averted. All right, so I'm just gonna add one little mini dimensional to the inside of this little starfish, and I'm gonna pop him or her up right there. All right, so there we go. Here is our layer so far, and of course it needs my very, very favorite linen thread, which was right in front of me, but I thought I lost it for a second. Typical. All right, Patricia, you live right on the ocean, but it is frozen from December to June. Where do you live, woman? Brr, that sounds chilly. All right, well, it would not be terrible to see the seals come up through the ice to get a little sun tanning in, little sunbathing for the seals. They are cute little guys, hey? Little sea dogs. I think of them like sea dogs. All right, so I'm just gonna wrap my linen thread around this card twice, and I want a big loose bow. So I've given myself lots of extra twine to do that. Twine, linen thread. Patricia, you're in the far, far north of Alaska. All right, yeah, that makes sense why it's frozen. That makes total sense. All right, I have been to Alaska, Skagway for sure, and some other little town, and I just can't remember the name of it because it was when I was younger and it was before marriage and before child. Anyway, it's gorgeous. Alaska's gorgeous. Mind you, I went in June, so I didn't freeze, but the bugs, there's some bugs. There's some black flies. Do you have black flies? Is that what's out there that's so nasty? All right, so I've got my big linen thread bow, and usually I do not like loops this big, but I'm going to stick my sentiment right over top of this bow, and then it's all gonna make sense. So I'm gonna glue this down right onto the card base, and I had somewhere, oh, here it is, a little square out of basic beige that I'm gonna stamp my sentiment on. Now this is a Stylish Shapes die cut. It's the smallest square in those dies, and these dies have been around for a couple years, and they're current. They're actually going to be in the new catalog coming out in May. So if you have the Stylish Shapes dies, they are not retiring. They have some longevity. They've been around for a while. At least I think 3 catalogs. Anyways. All right, so I'm just gonna glue this down. So like I said, I was inspired by the Global Design Project. So it's either Sundays or Mondays. I can't remember which day it is, but they give you a new challenge. And this week it's to recreate one of the designs that one of the people made. I can't remember her name, but she used the embossing folder that has all the little dots that are in concentric circles. I can't remember the name of it. And the Darling Dino stamps, and it's really cute. So I'm going to try to do something in line with that, because I'm having a little creative block. So when I get creative blocks, it's hard for me to come up with designs on my own. I don't know if it's a me thing or if I'm just too tired lately and staying up too late or working too many hours, but when I have a creative block, it is just so hard to come up with anything out of my own brain. So then I like to see what other people are making, and I get so many great ideas, and I just case them. If you don't know what I mean by casing, it's called, we refer to it as copy and share everything, or there might be other ways you say it, but basically if I make this design and it comes out of my head and I share it, and then I want you to copy it. I want you to copy it. I want you to add your own flair to it, or copy it exactly how I make it and share it, and just do you. So that's what I mean by case, if you hear me say that. All right, I forgot what I was doing. I'm talking too much. Patricia, mostly mosquitoes. Well, are they big? Are they giant mosquitoes? Because I felt like they were. Jackie, you had an issue with the glue dot. It falls off. Maybe we just have some defective rolls of glue dots here. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to stamp the sentiment in Lost Lagoon. All right, well, thank you, Patricia. This is on the last chance list. The bundle, the stamp set, the hybrid embossing folder. The stamp set I think is discounted, but the hybrid embossing folder is not. So if you decide you're going to pick this up from the last chance, you're going to see the bundle and you're going to see things separately. And it's always good to do the math, because sometimes with the last chance items, getting the bundle isn't going to give you the best deal. You might get the best deal if you buy things separately. Normally you get a better deal when you buy a bundle because it's reduced by 10%. But sometimes, and not always, but sometimes, you just need to do the math and make sure you are getting the best deal, whether you buy the bundle or if you buy all the things separately. So I'm just going to add some mini dimensionals where I want to stick my sentiment. Oh, I should have grabbed my take your pick tool. All right, here we go. And then I'm just gonna layer this right over top of that bow that I made, so the big loops are gonna stick out. There, whoops, not quite straight. There we go, there we go. Now one more thing before this card is finished is I am going to, oh my God, I'm sorry friends, I've missed so many comments. Oh my gosh, I didn't mean to say that. All right, Shannon, you have big Mormon crickets. That sounds terrible and terrifying. Terrible and terrifying. Thank you, Suzanne. It is a pretty card. Cookie, you have the set and you haven't used it. Get on it. Get on it. Well, I guess it doesn't matter because it's in your stash. So you just use it when you want to use it. Thanks, Karine. I think it is pretty too. So I'm going to add a whole bunch of the champagne iridescent dots because at least at the start of this live, my friend Karen was on and she's a bling girl. So I'm going to have to bling it up hardcore for you, Karen. All right. The mosquitoes, Patricia, can be big and they come in swarms. Yeah, I don't like that. I am from Alberta. We have mosquitoes in Alberta, but where I am on Vancouver Island in East Souk, we actually don't get, we get very few annoying little bugs. I think it's because we're so close to the ocean and the wind just moves those bugs away. What have I got? I've got 6 little glue dots, which means I'm going to add 7 little champagne iridescent dots because 7 feels like a lucky number. Karen, I know, bling it out. I've never done 7 before, ever. 7, that's crazy. All right, so there's all sorts of different size, tiny little dots in the champagne iridescent dot container. And they don't have their own stick. So you need to add a little dot of glue. Or, you know, if you trust your glue dots, you could use your glue dots, but we all know how I'm feeling about glue dots, so I'm not going to bring them out for this. I am just going to add a whole bunch of little embellishments right in my tombow. And then these will need to dry. Oops, there we go. Before I move this card around. So what I'll do after I get all these tiny little pieces glued on is I will pop some blocks on top and just let it sit there for about 10 minutes or so. And that should be all it needs. I've never done 7. I'm feeling crazy, wild and crazy tonight. Yes, Wendy, grasshoppers and kamloops, I believe it, because I bet you are dry, hot and dry in the summer. We got grasshoppers in southern Alberta too, where I grew up. And actually, when Kai and I went back for spring break, this one's too big, I want a little one. I got bugs on my car, on my windshield. We don't get those on Vancouver Island very often, so I needed to hit a car wash just to clean all the bugs off. Hey, Vicky. All right, one more tiny little dot. So I have to say the Take Your Pick tool is a little lifesaver for picking up these loose embellishments if you want to use them like I'm using them. If you just wanted to use them in a shaker card, then it's obviously no problem. You can just take a pinch and throw them in your shaker card. But if you're using them as embellishments, then they're tiny and they're hard to pick up. But if you have the Take Your Pick, this little putty end does wonders. And actually, I'm on my very last little tiny bit of putty, so I need to get a new one. Anyway, this is gonna dry, so I'm not gonna move it. But this is our finished project with a little less bling because I wasn't blinging it for you, Karen. But anyway, I hope you guys really like this project. Now, I'm gonna flip the camera around. And, all right, so Thursday, oh, it's crooked. Thursday is the Cutest Can Be card class at home. That's project number 3 in a series of 4. So tune in, it's gonna be a fun fold. And I'll be featuring the Cutest Can Be designer series paper. So it's super cute. Now, I've mentioned this before, but it's just a reminder for people who live in Canada. If you shop my online store this month, then I'm going to mail you the card kits for the Cutest Can Be class. I make the card kits as I get the orders, and then I just send them off to you. So they come snail mail, but then you'll have them and you can recreate because the videos are always going to be available on YouTube after the live stream. So that's happening in April. If you're my customer or if you would like to be my customer, you do have to be in Canada. Stampin' Up rules, not mine. And you will get the card kits, but you also get access to my card class for the Cutest Cows bundle. This is another one of my favorites that's retiring. It's still in the last chance list, both the stamps and the punch. So as an added perk for my customers in April, you're going to get access to this private class as well. I'm not sending out card kits because this I did a while ago, and the paper I used is retired now, but you still get the designs and they're pretty fun. So that's an extra perk for April, and I'm doing an extra perk because there's a sales perk for me. So if I sell X amount of stuff, then I get a pink tote, and I really like bags. So I'm going to get that tote, and if you're my customer, you're going to get a little extra perk too because I'm getting a perk. That only seems fair, right? Anyway, so that's what's happening. I feel like there was something else I wanted to tell you guys, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway, Cutest Can Be class coming up on Thursday night. It's a free class. I'm going to post the measurements on Wednesday so you can prep your pieces if you want to craft along with me. It's going to be a fun fold. Oh, now I know what it is. Some of you might be subscribing to my page. It's a new thing that Facebook has rolled out. So you might notice on some of my posts or my reels, there's like a banner or something that says subscribe for like, I think it's $1.29 American a month. And then you get some extra subscriber perks, and it's kind of up to me what you get. And I do what Facebook tells me to do because they're pushing my content out, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, one day somebody's going to see me and then send me a free coziest sweater in the world so I can wear it and tell you guys how cozy this sweater is. Anyway, I digress. So for my subscribers, some of you may have already subscribed. You see this link is $1.29 and you get some extra perks from me. And I've decided to give out PDFs for these card projects so you can just keep them a paper copy for future reference. But the problem is that when I send out posts to my subscribers, I can tell that not everybody is seeing those posts. So if you are my subscriber, you're going to want to take a look because you're going to see some extra posts that are just for you. And I think what I'll end up doing is maybe on the weekend or next week is I'll create a Facebook group for my subscribers so it can throw your perks right into the group and then you don't have to search for it. So if you are one of my subscribers and you haven't seen my posts, then shoot me a private message and I'll send you what you've been missing. All right, I think that's it. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see some of you or all of you on Thursday evening if you make this design. No matter what you use, I love to see what you make. So post a picture in the comments and share your creative inspiration because I just love it. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, friends, and I will see you soon.